Good morning, everyone. I'm Jeff Q from the RSPB. We've been encouraged to come and help give this talk. I've been working closely with Women's Golf and on this presentation, which is a reporting back from the March meeting, but also including some of the things that I know that are happening which weren't included. So what I'm going to cover in this talk is some context, some annual change as we understand it, but as we'll explain, that's a little bit challenging for some coastal habitats because they are quite dynamic, and I'll also cover activity, so things that definitely happened and are happening and being progressed in the current year. So the usual thank you slide. So this presentation has drawn from the group and drawn the slides from other people, so I'm pleased to present that on their behalf. If you need further detail on some of these points, do go back to these individuals. So context points. So this is a thematic group looking at the inshore elements. We're dealing with natural systems and these management measures directed to protection and recovery. The coast is very dynamic. And with sea level rise and climate change, it's going to become increasingly dynamic. So it's important to understand the status, to establish baselines as to where we are at the moment and understand how this change is happening and to understand the rates and pace of change on the coast. There's a complexity with the nature of the habitats that we're dealing with. It's not just mudflats and salt marsh. We've got sand dunes, saline lagoons, and transition zones between these habitats, many of which have been modified by man in the past, man claims and the like. So we're not dealing with a natural coastline, and that will affect how adaptation decisions and things are planned, managed and designed in the future. And the freshwater wetlands are incredibly important in their own right behind the seawalls, and that presents quite a challenge with trying to deliver benefits for the saline environment, but also trying to look after some of those freshwater interests. Sure. So here's a slide from the past. We do work together, you see, and it's important to work together, and it is great to see so many people here. And I think there's an emphasis on a coalition of the willing, but also a recognition of the need to continue to work together, to draw all the strands and themes together on the coast. Because we do face quite a number of challenges and complexities, and in order to understand the full picture, we have to draw all the knowledge together. So there's been quite a bit already on the marine environment, and I had conversations with a representative from the MMO when I came in. It's understanding this interface between the inshore, where we're often on the land looking outwards, and the marine guys are often out there looking inwards, not necessarily understanding the two parties, not necessarily understanding how each other work. So that's another strength of bringing people together. And this is very much a focus in this presentation on the inshore elements. And here's a slide of fish and shore. What should we do? So status changes in 1 year. A challenge to pin down things within 1 year. It's great that the Environment Agency are taking quite a lot of interest in salt marsh. The salt marsh, as you know, environmentally it's great for breeding birds like redshank. It's important for carbon storage, but it also provides a vital flood defence role in terms of wave attenuation. So it's critically important in terms of flood defence management to understand the status of salt marsh. And looking at the whole area, and particularly if you work straight down to Essex, which is outside the patch, you get quite a complex picture, where in some places you're getting accretion, and the wash is fundamentally an accreting system, or has been. And we've now got salt marshes something like 700 metres wide, whereas if you went back 50 years, you'd have had landflow and the intertidal mud would have started much sooner. And then down in Essex, where predominantly you've got salt marsh erosion now. So it's a very mixed picture, and this again emphasises the importance of baseline information and then repeated regular surveys to fully understand what's happening to this vital, and I'll come on to globally important resource, which is salt marsh. Storms. So, in the news we had, I haven't been named storms in the autumn, but it was many. Some storms, like 2013, have had major impacts on the coast and brought down literally big change overnight. Some years you don't get the change, so we have had successions of storms, but not change on this scale. So what you have on the coast is very much dramatic, dynamic change that happens in steps. And I put this slide in because wet weather and all these rainfall events is definitely affecting the East Coast. This is bottom picture is literally from 2 or 3 weeks ago at Trimmingham, where properties being lost. We don't envy the work of Coastal Partnerships East and authorities like Great Yarmouth and Norfolk Council needing to work with the coastal communities affected by this change. So a combination of storms, tides and rainfall lead to this accelerating rate of erosion of soft cliffs. Here's some slides from the Wild Humbug. So great work going on there with 500,000 native oysters produced. That sounds like a big number to me. And restoration of some seagrass, enrichment of a couple of hectares of salt marsh. If you need to know more about these sites, do talk to James. James here?
Yes, he is, but any of these people here,
yeah,
they're all good.
Yeah. Those are about 400 team. Yeah. Marvellous. Yeah. So this is great to see because it's practical measures that make a difference, and there is a lot of positive work being done. One of the challenges I expect for this group is how we communicate this as a whole. Because coast is a busy, complex place with lots of stakeholders, communities, and getting this information about the interest, background, depth of scientific knowledge is important because people develop their own theories as to what's happening on the coast in the absence of facts. And a bit more detail on the seagrass restoration. Non-compensatory resilience, would you like the sound of that? So sometimes only things are done for compensation rather than being an additionality, which this sounds like it is. And then we have the superurban arts, which are coming along. So the Coronation Coast And here we have King Charles visiting North Lincolnshire. Not sure how many royal visits Lincolnshire gets and has had, but this is great to see. And this is the, forms the impetus on the ground for organisations to work together. And has also brought in some Natural England investment in land purchase. So Natural England, when I heard that Natural England was purchasing land, I was trying to think of the last time I heard Natural England purchasing land in relation to NNR. So these initiatives help make a difference and bring in resources and get the recognition of the value of the coast. So this has happened in 2023. There are also initiatives on the beneficial use of dredged sediment. The amazing figure here that 20 billion cubic metres of sediments from channels and harbour maintenance, I'm talking England here, are deposited at the sea each year. So that is a very large volume. And if more of that material can be diverted to positive use to basically increase the resilience of coastal features, provide some restoration, that would be highly beneficial. And a national working group has been set up on this. RSPB has a project manager. It's been particularly successful around Harwich, which has taken material into the Blackwater, just outside the area. That feels like the area, with a harbour protection trust being set up where the objectives are to deliver multiple benefits within the Blackwater estuary, whereby extend the life of features that provide sea defence as well as providing environmental benefits. And in one of these cases, Little Terns has been a major beneficiary. There are flux towers. Almost looks like the flux towers have landed these things. And we heard earlier from Mike. So RSPB has been working with Ben Green and Lucy from the team. And these are pictures from Freeston Shore on the Wash, where there are 2 flux towers. So my understanding of the importance of flux towers is that we know salt marshes store carbon, which is fantastic, but what we don't actually know so much detail on is how the carbon balances work in terms of the capture and then how much is re-released into the atmosphere to fully understand what the net carbon is. And by understanding the net carbon capture, that helps provide a value and helps draw in resources into the restoration of these habitats, so that provide investors with greater certainty. So these are relatively small structures, impressed by the design because look where they are. They're out on the tidal salt marshes, and these things have to endure storms, quite significant wave heights and the like. And police safety were installed at Freeston before Christmas, and we're still there, unfortunately, so that's good. There are new landscape recovery projects. With the new one, I've just highlighted 2 on the Wash because these include potential for new intertidal habitats. So the exciting one is Northwest Norfolk, which is partners and stakeholders around the Sandringham estate, building on enthusiasm from our monarch for big landscape restoration missions, potential to restore the tidal floodplain and take a freshwater river and integrate that in some way, which sounds absolutely fantastic. It may not happen immediately, but as soon as people start thinking and planning for these changes, then in my experience, something generally tends to happen. And there is another new landscape project, as mentioned, which is joint between Norfolk County Council and Holcombe Estate, which covers a range of habitats, but probably not used title. And another one that I know something about is the work that's going on restoration potential mapping for saltmarshes tidal. I'm used to saying baseline because that's one I could just easily lay my hands on. This is a potential map per se, it's produced by an organisation. But generally, where you start with these maps is you look at the 5 metre contour, and then you look at the land below the 5 metre contour, and you look at all the reasons as to why you don't think things can be done. And that ends up with where you think the highest potentials are. We have been in a situation where different organisations have been producing their own sets of potential maps. RSPB keen because we could have set out and refined our own set of maps, but put time and effort into suggesting that those people who were doing maps ought to come together, look at them, because the most important thing is not having a set of potential maps, it's turning them into a pipeline of deliverable projects and questioning how you do that, and therefore you need to look at the potential sites, prioritise them, do a deeper dive and the like. So it's very good that there's a national group now been set up, a working group with Crown Estate, our Agency Natural, the National Trust, Wildlife Trust, RSPB, Wildfowl Wetlands Trust, Duchies of Lancaster and Cornwall, looking at the next stage, taking advantage of DEFRA funding that's coming into the Environment Agency to look at this in more depth. And that will basically look at a much smaller number of sites in bigger detail, which will increase learning and hopefully lead to deliverable projects which will help produce sites suitable for adaptation. And there are different drivers in here. Some organisations like RSPB were particularly on the pipeline of adaptation projects. Other parties would be more interested in the money. There's interest because of biodiversity net gain, carbon income, which may generate sufficient financial incentive to do the work. I took a point from Gavin Bloomfield on one of the sites and the number of pumping stations that the Water Management Alliance is responsible for. I thought I'd illustrate some of the challenges with the current situation at Benacre, Castellan on the Suffolk case, where there is an approved funding scheme for realigning this pumping station, which created a hard point on the coast. It's unsustainable at its current location. It's only still there because of the number of rocks that are being placed and the increasing number of rocks that are being placed around it. It needs to move backwards. The funding scheme of construction inflation, ground investigation, more funds are needed. So there are challenges with these situations, and we'll get more of them as soon as rise. Something very significant that's happened indeed last year is East Coast, Humber to the Thames, East Atlantic Flyway, East Coast Wetlands has been added by government to the UNESCO World Heritage Site tentative list, which means it's an area recognised by government of global importance and nature, which some of us have wondered whether our current government do that, but they have, and they put it on the tentative list. We're quite excited by this because World Heritage Sites, as we've seen elsewhere, provide excellent opportunities to bring together regulators, stakeholders and communities around the common purpose of the outstanding universal value. And on the east wing, we've got migration birds, we've got the habitats, and we've also got the adaptation processes and the knowledge of managed reliable science, which are all significant. There's a lot of work needed on the next steps, and we need to formulate a partnership, lots of studies and the like. Nothing about World Heritage Sites is quick, probably going to be a 6-year process, but there's an opportunity to integrate the work of this group with partnerships and collaborations needed for World Heritage Sites. It's essentially it's all the same stuff. Coastal alignments. I think we know this, but on stepping back from coastal adaptation and thinking boundary alignments to the East Coast, we are global leaders on things like boundary alignment. We may take it for granted that we've done 23 and they're getting better and better each time, but we have learned an awful lot, and there are a lot of people out there who are very interested in drawing from our knowledge and experience. And in a World Heritage Site context, these are the sorts of challenges that other natural World Heritage Sites will need to go through and think about, because the thought that you can keep low-lying coasts fixed in situ is in the past, sadly. I'm going to show a short video because communication and this, I suppose, building social capital in communities, one of the themes of this group. We've actually done an initiative with Wildlife Records Trust, Natural Inland Support, and through the Washaway Research Group, where we actually set about doing something which would generate stories that communicate to the public and communities, which would help build the understanding of the importance of the coast. So, as of last year, new tags are available for catching two birds. They're getting lighter and more sophisticated all the time. Latest tags only available last year, 6 grams, which meant we could put them on barter onwards for the first time in Western Europe, to understand what they do. And then when you put tags on birds, you can never be sure what you're going to find. So here's a little story. So the video should play.
There's a few bar-tailed goblins right out on the tide edge.
Nigel's been birding for 60 years, spotting species all over the world, but he's got a new star right here at RSPB Snettisham near King's Lynn. He's called Clive, he's a bar-tailed godwit, and since he was fitted with this tiny tracker last month, he's been on quite the journey.
He took off, went westwards, and then round off the west coast of Ireland, went south, almost got to Spain, then he turned around and came back again. Called in at the Thames for a few hours before coming back to exactly the same patch of mud, within about 100 yards of where it had been feeding before it left.
It turns out Clive had bumped into a storm before he could reach Africa, so his 2,000-mile, 4-day marathon flight was for nothing. Except it wasn't. It stunned experts, and it shows just how complex these birds' migrations can be.
I have been involved in projects all around the world, and coming back home and finding out something really new on your doorstep is really shows us that we know so little about our environment, and it's inspiring that this bird has survived.
The wetlands along the east coast are becoming critically important in that story of survival, used by millions of birds. It's a vital stop on the East Atlantic flyway.
This is a global superhighway for migrating birds, which are spending their summers in the Arctic when they breed, and in Africa in the winter. Here on the Wash in particular, it's really important. Essentially, it's like a service station. If we were doing a long journey You need somewhere to rest, you need somewhere to fuel up. That's exactly what this site does for these birds.
Bar-tailed godwits are notoriously tenacious migrators. One was once recorded flying non-stop from Alaska to Australia. Clive's colossal campaign wasn't quite in that league, but it's caused a lot of excitement here. And now he's out there somewhere, enjoying the fine cuisine at his Norfolk holiday home, building up the strength to have another go. Rob Setchell, ITV News at RSPB Station.
Good, so that shows what you've set out with an objective, which is linked both to science and also thinking that you want something to talk about. So doing things to talk about is quite important. And here's feedback from the Essex landowner. I'll just read a small part. So for you, it's the part of the story of the East Atlantic flying leaf. For me, it's a single story that creates a single part of what is remarkable about the environment. This focus, which has been communicated in value of our environment, and unsolicited contributing so explaining things through the methods that you use the World Heritage Site. So here are some conclusions. So coastal habitats, complex and challenging, and need collaborative working. Status reports on submarsh, mixed picture. Some of these things you do need long-term trends to really understand what's happening. We don't have any extreme storm events, although we could get a lot of storms. There's been progress with multiple initiatives, and we have gained this government recognition of global importance manifested through adding to the UNESCO tentative list. And I did put a lot of words, and don't forget to look up. So how many of you seen the film Don't Look Up? You haven't, it's worth a look. You can get this as an app. Always advising colleagues, when you think about coastal management, times you have to take account of the change that is coming. I think that things are stable and they can sustain. So this actually gives up to the minute as to what's going on. So this is not you can see it's global stuff. We see that our own but we can make a real difference to our in Greenland. And these places have names. There is pine, white, and Greenland ice. These are the things to keep an eye on, because they can be heat that's already added to the ocean. Time we get 1 to 2 degrees. So but you can see the collaborative working, building these collaborative approaches over time, because the work and focus on the coast is only going to grow over time. I promised at the end to put up a slide to remind people that a memory conference is coming. So make sure we're there. Okay, thank you.